What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
Hey, welcome to the show.
What is going on? So another action-packed week. Try to diversify a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about some very different aspects of cyber and IT this week. Definitely continue to tune in. Monday, Tuesday are the topics. Wednesday is the discussion. And then Friday, we talk about everything but cyber, but we might be talking about a little bit of cyber this week. Just because we're actually hitting them books and what have you. But without further ado, I give you to Shannon.
All right. So this one right here is from securityaffairs.com. It's called LANtenna attack allows exfiltrating data from air-gapped systems via Ethernet cables. And it's by, I'm going to mess this up. I'm sorry to the author of this article, but Pierluigi Paganini, right? I think, yeah, you know.
It sounds good to me.
There you go. If I messed it up, I'm sorry.
That's way better than I would have said it.
Pierluigi Paganini. Yeah. But no, what this is about, so it's called a LANtenna attack, right? And what this is exfiltrating data from air-gapped systems using Ethernet cables, right? So this is the type of stuff you see in like spy movies that you're like, man, that stuff can't be real, but really happens out there. And what it was these security researchers from the Cybersecurity Research Center in the Ben Gurion University of the Negev in Israel devised this mechanism, right? And so what it does is it uses the Ethernet cables as a transmitting antenna to steal data from air-gapped systems. Now, when they say air-gapped, they mean these systems that are not connected, you know, to the outside world, to the public-facing outside world. That you may have some things on there that may be classified or proprietary that you just don't want getting out there, right? As things tend to do as we go over on this show, it seems like every week, right? But the research group, it was led by Dr. Guri, says that the data can be siphoned using it's an electromagnetic attack. And what it does is you have to, and this is where it still requires a little bit of effort on this part, right? Is that you have to have a radio receiver within, they said 200 centimeters, right? So I had to look up, I'm not a metric guy, you know, I live in America, it's empirical system, you know, it's the measurements I do. So I had to look this up, and that's about 6.5 feet, right? So at about 6.5 feet, you can set up a radio receiver to get this information that's coming through over your Ethernet lines, right? And this is kind of scary, right? So I've heard of some things that can happen. So like there are attacks out there where people can gather what you're typing through keystrokes just based off the sound that comes off of a keyboard, right? So like they'll listen out, they'll put not a transmitter, but they'll listen to the frequency that's bouncing off of windows in buildings, and they can tell by your keystrokes, they get a pretty good idea what you are typing without actually getting into your systems. You know what I mean? So like when I heard about that years ago, I was like, man, it's only a matter of time before, you know, people are just reading minds, you know what I mean, to get what's going on, on some of these systems and whatnot. But this was an interesting read. And again, they were able to do it by setting up the receiver at 200 centimeters from the Ethernet cable, but they do talk in this article about some defensive measures that can be adapted against this, right? Because you start thinking, well, if you're able to put a receiver near the Ethernet cables, which a lot of people use, because when you have an air-gapped system, you usually go away from wireless, right? Because wireless is one of those things where even though you have encryption when it comes to wireless, it could still be, I mean, it's just things that are going out over the air that can easily be intercepted, right? But some of the measures they talk about in here is banning radio receivers from the air gap network. So you'll just have to do a sweep for those to make sure they're not there. Using RF monitoring hardware to try to identify anomalies in the frequency bands. Cable shielding, right? Because not every Ethernet cable is shielded, you know what I mean? But it's just some of the things, some of the defensive measures they talk about. But like, here's the thing now, guys. Like, you don't have to be connected to the internet anymore, right? For people to get your data. This is what it comes down to. Is they can just listen to your cables now, you know. So yeah, this was interesting, and it was one of those things that, well, say goodbye to the world because there's no protection now. You know what I mean? But LeVon, what you got on this, man?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting article. I think the fact that obviously this technology is out here. I've heard about this before as well, even prior to like seeing this article about some of the data they can receive off of the lines. And I think even a lot of government buildings they try to keep the SuperNet away from like the NIPRNet because of the cross like cable like
MSEC,
data
they
can
call it. Emission security. That's what they
mission
call it.
security.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So the same kind of thing, and I'm sure this technology works in a similar fashion where it can receive some of that data off the line, just over the air, and kind of reads the data from the wire. But it's just a small like this is like it's not like a major concern because you have to be so close. I mean, 6 feet, 6.5 feet is a good distance, but obviously like Russia's not going to be able to get 6.5 feet from your cable, but potentially somebody that's like maybe that's internal like uh, um, internal resource that's all of a sudden decided that they want to retrieve some data from some wires and not let anybody know about it. They can just set up a little device and start pulling data off. um, and the fact that this technology can potentially improve over time. Who knows, in the future maybe like, hey, you can do it from 20 feet away, we can do it from 30 feet away, we can do it from a mile, we can do it from across the street. And also we're pulling data from people's cables. So something we've got to keep an eye out for. And as far as like as the technology potentially improves over time and becomes more of uh, a risk to our data and exfiltration of our data. um, we just got to keep it in mind, and like you mentioned, some of the protective measures that we can put in place to make sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But yeah, I think it's a good article. I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's kind of things that you never know how people can get your data nowadays. No, they don't have to be connected over the internet. They don't have to be, they can be right next to you, and all of a sudden, even like I don't know, imagine being in some sort of like I don't know, maybe like a coffee shop or something, or like a some sort of like LAN party, and all of a sudden somebody's connecting a little wire to their computer, or like they'll plug the USB as a little RF antenna, and then just starting to pull data from your machine, and you don't even realize it because they're not, you're connected to like the LAN port. You think it's like there's no way anybody can pull data outside of whoever's connecting to like the router or switch or whatever. But who knows what the future has in store? So we got to keep in mind this kind of stuff, and hopefully, it doesn't improve too much, too drastic that all of a sudden we're dealing with people across the street pulling your data from the wire. But what about you, Ryan? What you think about this?
Yeah, I think you hit it right. Hit the nail right on the head, right? With the insider threat. I being having to be that close. That's probably going to be somebody within your own company, stealing the data and what have you. So again, it goes down to proper training as well as just knowing your people. Proper training in that you can be insider threat without doing it on purpose, right? It's just that person who brings their cell phone in to the air gapped area. Like you could be that guy, or you're wearing a Fitbit, or you're wearing your phone. Like as the technology progresses, right? It's not there yet, but it could be any device could potentially be within range to pick it up. I did not know about the keyboard thing. That does make sense though. So yeah, that just goes to show you like they can hear your keystrokes outside the building. Like who knows what the future has to hold. They listen to your air gap systems from space in the next decade. But no, that's interesting. I think it has obviously the huge ramifications for air gap systems, people who work in skiffs and things of that nature. So that's a skiff, for those who are not DoD, is basically a room or area that has several layers of protection to keep data from being leaked. So thicker walls, cipher doors, MSEC inspections and shielding and things of that nature to keep that data inside. But you still have to be careful of the insider threat, people bringing their phones in or what have you, retrieving data. But I think it has bigger ramifications on everybody who's not air gapped, right? So if you can do this to somebody who is purposely protecting their system, what about those who are just unaware, right? So it may be an easier way to exfiltrate. No, I can't say the word. Exfiltrate data from those who are at, like you said, a LAN party or at a coffee shop or just not in a protected area. Now they're at risk as well from getting their data stolen. And technology is only going to get better. So that I don't know how you fix. Like we already have shielded twisted pair. Like do you double shield, triple shield? Like it's going to be a new, Cat 8, Cat 9 that protects you from a LANtenna attack. I don't know. I don't know if it's that serious yet, but definitely thought provoking. I didn't know it was a thing, and I saw because the name caught me because it was clever. I was like, oh, LANtenna, I like it. But yeah, I mean, that's have implications for the future. So I think it's pretty cool that they know it exists, and now we can start trying to protect ourselves against it. So it definitely interesting article full of names I could not pronounce. So thank you, Shannon, for taking care of
that. Is this how I ended up with it? Like,
no, it just worked out perfect.
I get hate mail.
It worked out perfect.
So, I ain't on social media anyway, so they ain't gonna send me nothing.
But no, I definitely thought that was interesting. So another great discussion. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, LeVon. This one was short and sweet, but continue to listen to us throughout the week. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is TSA imposing new rules and restrictions against some industries that you thought already had them. And then on Wednesday, we have a very interesting conversation about how women and minorities are hacked more than other groups, which is kind of crazy. And it's the reason why that's being done and what we think about it. And then Friday, again, we talk about everything but cyber, maybe a little bit of cyber. And then look out for hopefully next week or the week after, we are going to have a guest. So I was able to link up with Gabriel Davis. He is a risk operations lead at Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, aka CISA, who will be in the discussion as well for hopefully next week or the week after, depending on his schedule, our schedule, just to hop on the panel with us for an episode. So be on the lookout for that. And just continue to stay tuned in. So hit up the website, www.theothersideofthefirewall.com. We get to our social medias. You can hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I'm on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. And you, LeVon?
Hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.
Take care.